Thanks, Brian. Well, there's a new epidemic among our teens, prescription drug abuse. In fact, 12 to 17-year-olds are popping pills at an alarming rate. They get them from family and friends, and they're usually free. Tonight, a candid conversation with Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack about her young son's struggle with his addiction to a powerful prescription painkiller.
One of the best moments was actually when he did pick up the phone and say, "Mom, I need help, and will you help me?"
Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack is talking about the day her son Cesare surrendered to his addiction to the painkiller OxyContin and finally asked for help. Cesare's father was politician and entertainer Sonny Bono. He died in a ski accident in 1998 when Cesare was just 9 years old. It was a long road to recovery for Cesare, who admits to smoking marijuana and taking OxyContin while attending Palm Springs High School.
I really started to notice Cesare's behavior changing, but slowly over time. And for me, it was a little bit confusing, I guess, because it was hard to tell what was normal teenage behavior and what was abnormal. And it really was a slow progression. There wasn't a day that you just realized, wow, he's got a problem. It was not until Cesare really was willing to admit to himself and to me that he was addicted to drugs that I was in fact certain. I think before that I was in some denial.
Cesare was 14 years old when he started using. That's not uncommon these days. In fact, according to a number of national studies, prescription drugs are the most commonly abused drug among 12 to 13-year-olds.
They believe that prescription drugs, because they're prescribed by doctors, are probably safer. That's a perilous misconception because it's not true. Of course, they can be even more dangerous.
In fact, teens are now turning away from street drugs like marijuana and turning to drugs like OxyContin, Vicodin, and Xanax to get high. For Cesare, his addiction to OxyContin led to heroin use.
Heroin, to me, and to Cesare as well, has always seemed like the very bottom of the barrel with substance abuse. But when you realize in the disease process, it's sort of, especially with the opiates, it's the natural place to go. It becomes the affordable opiate.
Lynn Hay is another local mom who has watched her bright, handsome young son at the age of 13 drift into the wrong direction because of drug use. His addiction, too, began with marijuana, and as Lynn found out later, he was dabbling in prescription drugs. Now he's a junior in high school, and things have gotten out of control. Lynn, give me an example of his worst behavior.
The defiance was really, really bad. And then he was stealing, not just selling his own things, but from his brother.
He took his brother's video games and DVDs and sold them to get money for drugs. In fact, Jamie was stealing from the whole family. In 2008, Lynn had a bilateral mastectomy. She was sent home with a number of medications, including the powerful painkiller Percocet. One afternoon, her husband Scott noticed a problem.
And he looked at the bottle, and there was 30 of them missing. And we actually were able to count it because we had kept track, but never would I have thought to hide it. And so we, went to Jamie. He said he didn't know anything about it, and we what we call tossed his room. We started looking through everything, and we found 10 of them.
Cesare Bono stole from his friends and family, too. In fact, at one point, his room was nearly empty from selling off his stuff to pay for his $120 a day habit. This behavior was devastating to his family.
You can't cry enough, you can't yell enough, you can't punish enough.
Is there any guilt with being away from home?
There was so much guilt about being away from home. And Cesare was one of the ones who had to say to me that, "Mom, it's not your fault."
You can always label, you can always assign blame everywhere, but I think parents certainly have a responsibility. I think that children, as they're growing older, have a responsibility. Older children have responsibility towards their younger siblings.
Kids are getting their prescription medications online, free from friends, and from the medicine cabinet. Do you know what's inside your medicine cabinet? Even if you don't have teenagers at home, it's a good idea to keep track and lock up your medications, and also get rid of the pills that have expired.
There are all kinds of places where we inadvertently just leave drugs, and not knowing that these are going to be hunted and found and used dangerously by children.
The Hay family had to take drastic measures to get their minor son the help he needed. They tried to scare him straight through the juvenile system. It didn't work. One day in December, they made a family decision that has changed their lives.
I turned the lights on. I kissed Jamie's cheek, knowing I probably wouldn't be able to do that again for a while. And I told him that I loved him and that there was a couple of nice men that were here that were going to take him to his new school.
16-year-old Jamie is currently at the Diamond Ranch Academy just outside of St. George, Utah, a teen residential treatment center. He will be there at least 10 months.
I'm just grateful that there are programs like that, and I'm just grateful for my family and for Jamie to have this opportunity.
It was the pain of withdrawal that led Cesare to rehab at the Betty Ford Center. He left after a couple of months and got rehooked on opiates. Eventually, he ended up at the Cirque Lodge in Utah, where he learned to live drug-free. He's been clean for over a year and a half. He's
very happy with where he is right now. He's loving his life and school and what he's doing for work. So he's a great kid, and I'm very thankful for where he is right now. Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack is being proactive when it comes to talking about the prescription drug problem and our kids on Capitol Hill. For starters, she's trying to raise awareness by working with the FDA and DEA to limit the amount of doctors prescribing OxyContin. Prescription drugs are more abused by our kids than all of the street drugs combined. And it really has taken over as an epidemic for our kids.
And a big thank you to Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack and to Lynn Hay for talking to us about such a private matter. Both moms hope that by sharing their stories, it will open the door to conversations between parents and their own teens about the dangers of prescription drug abuse. If you'd like more information on this topic, go to our website, KMIR6.com, click on Teens and Prescription Drugs, the Epidemic.
Wow, so amazing. What a great story, and how brave of those women to come forward. I mean, I can imagine how hard it would be to actually have to face those tough questions and things that they had to deal with.
They both talked about denial. You know,
Yeah.
they knew their son so well, and they didn't think they would try those kinds of drugs. But Elizabeth, they're out there. They're easy to get from friends. They're free. They're in the medicine cabinets. They're in drawers at home. So it's time to talk to your teens about this.
Absolutely, and many parents wouldn't even think that their kids would even know they had the drugs in their medicine cabinets.
Yeah.
Compelling stuff. Great job. So informative. Thank you so much. Well, much more ahead tonight at 11. Actor Brad Pitt brings Hollywood to Capitol Hill. Find out more about his meeting with White House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Plus, stocks take another plunge on Wall Street. You're watching your KMIR6 News at 11.